All right, good morning, everyone. We are resuming what we began at the beginning of this week, and that is in Likuti Torah. We're learning about what exactly is the purpose of the altar in the Holy Temple. What's the Holy Temple in general, and the idea of the altar and the sacrifices, and what do we do now in the last almost 2,000 years that we don't have a Holy Temple? So the Rebbe said, like this, that the Holy Temple was basically only there just to help the Jews to serve God. It didn't really replace the Jewish people. A person can't get closer to God by means of somebody else, but other people can certainly help you, and there's certainly other things can help you. That's why we have the commandments and everything. But the idea of Judaism is that a person himself has to come close to God, and even more, he has to make God come close to the world, and that the world becomes godly. And that was done in the Holy Temple mainly through the sacrifices. You took a regular animal, a smelly animal, there's no conception of right or wrong or up or down or anything. It just lives its life. And you take that animal and you make it closer to its creator. You do with the animal what the creator wants. And why the creator wants it to be sacrificed, I don't know. But why God creates animals, I also don't know. Why there has to be so many dogs and cats and zebras and rhinoceroses. What do you have to have rhinoceroses? You can just replace the rhinoceros with hippopotamuses or something. What do you have to? No, God decides that's what He wants there to be. He wants there to be all these animals. That's what God's decision in making the world. Well, God also decides what He wants to be done with these things. Certain things are forbidden to eat, some things are permissible to eat, some things you can use for to make shoes out of or whatever you can. So that's the whole idea basically of Judaism, is to use the world for what God wants, including to use our hearts, our emotions for what God wants, our interest, our purpose in life, our the things that arouse us, interest us. We're supposed to use all that power of interest and arousal and things that also to serve the Creator. So that was enhanced by the Holy Temple. But in the Holy Temple, there was something really that was lacking. There was something lacking by the fact that we did have a temple. And that is that the world wasn't as low as it could be. What's the advantage of being low? Says the Rebbe, that what's the whole idea of the creation? Why are we even here? We're here in order to transform bad into good. And in this case, bad, at least in the Tanya explains, there's a whole different definition of what is bad and what is good. A whole different definition the Torah gives of bad. Bad is not just killing people and destroying things, and so that's for sure that's bad. That's for sure that's bad. I mean, there's sometimes killing people is permissible. It's a permissible thing. Sometimes it's even a commandment. Even though those commandment doesn't. Okay, commandment even to kill people, right? Somebody who's coming to kill you, it says you're supposed to kill him. Stand up to kill him first. Sometimes it's a commandment, but rarely, that's a blatant example of good and bad, destruction and construction. God is the creator, and the devil is the destroyer. But God created the devil. God creates it all the time, and the reason that God created, that's the world. That's basically the whole world. So why did God create such a thing? Even more, God created what's called the angel of death. That's the devil. That's also the devil, the Satan. The evil impulse is also the angel of death. Same thing. Why did He create these weird things? So the answer is that He created them because they're an essential, integral part of the world. If there wasn't for such a thing as death, bad, at least the potential of it, then there wouldn't be a world. There wouldn't be a world that existed before. When Adam ate from the tree, so he just brought this power of death from being potential into being actual. But it was there, it's part of the world. So the Rebbe says, well, one of the reasons that it's there in the world is that we should defy it. And even more, that we should transform it. And that's what makes life interesting. That's what makes life interesting. That's the whole idea of being in the world. That's what makes life mysterious. where we have questions. If everything was just good, there wouldn't be any questions at all. And we wouldn't be able to transform bad to good. So you can say, well, I mean, just don't make any bad and let everything be good. What do you have to have all the bad for? Which I agree with that. I definitely do agree with that. Why do they have to have bad in the world? Death and disease and these terrible things. Why do they even have to be in potential so that we can transform them? Just leave us alone. Let us have a good life. That's what I think. But that's not what God thinks. God doesn't think that way. God says that when we transform darkness to light, we do something that he can't do. We make this world what's called very good. And that's why it says in a midrash that when God made the world, if you look in the 6 days of creation, in the beginning of creation, so it says that God made the light and he saw it was good. He saw it was good. He did this, he saw it was good. It was good. So that's called the angel of life. And he saw it was very good, but that's at the end. He created the world and saw it was very good. That's the angel of death. So why is the angel of death very good? Just because it's there in order for us to create it. If there wasn't such a thing, we wouldn't be created at all. God doesn't need it. God has the angels up there. The angels don't have any problems. They don't die. They don't get sick. Even though there is an angel, Raphael, the angel of healing, but it's there to heal us. Okay, so that's what we got up to, right? So the Rebbe is trying to say, nowadays, by prayer, we transform our natural desire to just be left alone and stay in our comfort zone or whatever, and to maybe increase our comfort zone, to thicken the walls of our comfort zone, to have more money, to have a bigger house, to have a big, whatever it is, to be popular, you have no fears, have no problems, no worries, no this. That's what people want to stay. That's what people want to be. It says to take the tendency of people to, I think that's why people hate each other. People like to hate each other because hating other people makes you feel a little more secure. You know who the enemy is. Now you know who the enemy is. So you go overboard. Nowadays, in the world there's this, you got to worry. There's global warming. Got to watch out. Got to be afraid, right? So it's hate anyone who contributes to global warming. Right? Then to be afraid, fear and hate are very close together, one another, because what you're afraid of, you hate. so people make up misuse hate, fear, and fear. I mean, listen, this class is not for that, but if you think about it, that's basically what Christianity is. It's just misusing fear and hatred and guilt, these things which basically are good, but misusing them so that you're afraid of going to hell, and you feel always guilty. You're guilty, you got to be saved. You're always guilty, and you hate anybody who doesn't accept your thing. You hate them, right? And you love them because potentially you can convince them, but if somebody opposes you, you hate them. Hatred and in any case, this is a very, very powerful force in the world, and what basically comes from misinterpreting what life is about. And life is supposed to be about transforming bad into good, either ignoring it or transforming it. So the Rebbe is saying this can't be done, this transforming bad into good, unless you have some love of God. You have to have some reason to sacrifice what you like, or you sacrifice your comfort zone, or sacrifice your fears, or your guilt trips, or whatever it is, to say, I'm not going to feel guilty anymore. I'm not going to be afraid anymore. You have to have something that you love. So that's the love. You have to have something you love. And the love is supposed to be for God. That's the idea. So the more you come to love God, is the more you have a motivation to ignore and to transform the angel of death. And that's very good. This arousing inside of yourself, this power of defiance, this is something that even the angels don't have. This is the reason God created the world. To have a love of God, love of the Creator. Therefore, it says it's tov me'od, it's very good, even better than the angel of life. that the angel of life is the source of life and good. But the angel of death, the angel of evil, that, that brings death into the world and bad into the world, this is higher. Why? Because we say it's like light that comes from the darkness. In the Tanya, it brings it also a very interesting example that's brought from the Zohar. It brings an example that's brought from the Zohar. And the example that's brought from the Zohar is the king that wants to test his son to see if what his son is made of. If his son is made of royalty. Son is made of royalty or not. You get the same thing in America, other places, right? Is the leader corrupt? Is he corrupt? What does it mean to be corrupt? Corrupt means you're bribed. You're bribed. A true leader is supposed to always have the interest of the people on his mind. Always. That's all he's supposed to think about. All he does is, ideally, the king is supposed to be the lowest person in the kingdom because he's the servant of everybody. He serves everyone. His only interest, he never thinks about himself. Right? He's always thinking about the interest of the people. Other people, he thinks about them so that they can think about themselves. But ideally, it's, don't think of what you can do for your country do for you, what you can do for your country. The king is supposed to be the one that thinks all the time about everybody. Right? He is the ideal public servant. That's what it's supposed to be. And that's what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be, we're the relatives of the king. We're the Jewish people. So we're royalty. What does it mean royalty? We're public servants. We're supposed to be thinking all the time how to protect the people truly. Not to think about ourselves, ever. Never. Not to think about yourself. Only to think about how to improve the world. How do you improve the world? It says you improve the world by loving God. You improve the world by defeating yourself. And it says when yourself is defeated, that's a brand new thing that's totally unusual in the world. Everyone's thinking about themselves, going to heaven, whatever it is, right? Saving yourself so that you can go to heaven. How to get there, to blow yourself up, to go to whatever's, become a suicide bomber or something like that. Nothing better than that, right? Blowing yourself up. That because the person's thinking about himself. He just wants to get the biggest reward possible. Well, the Jewish people are supposed to be, that's called evil. That's called evil. When you transform that evil and you defy that evil, that becomes something that's higher than even good itself. And there's another thing. Like it says in the Zohar, in a place where Bali Tshuva stand, it says that they draw godliness with more power. Why? Because of Tagburos. A Baal Tshuva is a person that he returns to consciousness. In this case, we're talking about a Jew, but also relevant to non-Jews. He returns to his purpose in life, what he was born for. Everybody's born in life, born with responsibility, and a person returns to responsibility. Why do people not feel the responsibility? Because number one, it's difficult to do your responsibility, and number two, it's fun not to do your responsibility. It's fun to hate people. It's fun. It feels good. Right? Some people get pleasure from other things. It's fun to be an egotist. It's fun to be licentious. It's fun, all these things, the woke and the LGBT and all this stuff. You're doing what you want to do. It's fun, but you enjoy it. People don't want to get married. They want to party. They want to do this. It's fun. Why not? Why not be fun? Why not be fun? It says, but that's not the reason why you were created. A person could say, what do I care the reason why I was created? Who says there's a reason? I'm just having a good time. That's what it is. A Baal Tshuva is a person that he shuns all of these immediate urges and pleasures and things like that. And he thinks about, why was I created? What's the purpose? Why am I here? Am I here to be honest, or am I here to make $1 million by cheating? And am I here to be faithful to my wife, or am I here to be, to run around and do all sorts of pleasures and leave my family? But it makes me feel good. Now there's the big problem in America, other places with, one-parent families. The husbands just leave. They leave. Or the women, they don't want to have families at all, right? They don't want any responsibility. So that's not good. That's not good. That means you wreck the world. You wreck yourself. You wreck everything. But you have to defy your own nature. And that's very difficult. That's called being a Baal Tshuva. When a person in order to change your nature, you have to have love for something good. You have to have love. I want to have a family. I want to be honest. I want to be truthful. Or in our case, we're saying the ideal is I want to have love of God. This comes from thinking about God. Hitbonenut. You have to think about how great God is, how good God is. This comes from thinking about God in the Psuki de Zimmer, in the Psalms of King David that we say. Like I said so many times before, you have to buy yourself a Jewish prayer book, a genuine Jewish prayer book. We're talking about how do they call it? Orthodox. There's really no such thing as Orthodox. It's just Judaism. That's all. There's Judaism. The others are not Judaism. A genuine Jewish prayer book. And look in the Jewish prayer book, and there's the Psalms of King David, which are designed to give us the same love of God that King David had, despite all of his difficulties. When we praise God in this way, praising the King, the praising God, the King of the universe. Ba'omek daton, you think deeply into your mind and the greatness of Ein Sof, of what God is, then how God is infinitely high, then you'll come to love God. This love of God will be your impetus. This will be your, how do you say, your motivation to defy your own selfish, immediate urges and impulses, which if you've been doing it all your life, it's not so surface that you think that it's yourself, that's who you are. Until you can actually give yourself over to the Creator when you say Echad. You realize how good God is, and you are willing to give everything for the Creator. Just like a musician gives everything for music, and whatever is a person is that the sports gives everything for the game, right? He's willing to do everything to make another goal, to make other this. Right? Or a scientist, he wants to find the truth. His word devoted, those things are wonderful, but there's something that is an umbrella to all of those other desires, which gives a whole new meaning to life, and that is to be interested in the truth, to be interested in what God is. And then you come to love God when you realize that God is not just a philosophical idea. He's actually creating us. And you come to really love God with all of your heart. That God is really more real than we are. He's creating us. Okay, tremendous love. Okay, let's go. Here we go. This power in the animal soul, that it can get actually excited by godliness, until it gets excited, that your natural animal soul that's interested only in your own self, that it can be interested in the oneness of God. And this is what Mashiach is going to do for the whole world. The whole world is going to be interested only in the Creator. The Creator is creating everybody. We're being created. Everyone's being created. There's only one Creator. And everyone's going to be interested only in the Creator and what the Creator wants. That's what at Mount Sinai, that was what happened just now. We celebrated. The Creator himself revealed himself to the world. How do when God creates the world? It's the 10th, it's the 4th of the 10 commandments. The 4th, God created the world. In 6 days, God created the world. The 7th day, he stopped. God created the world. Where did he create the world from? He created it from nothing. So the world is made from nothing. How does it exist if it's made from nothing? So God is creating it all the time. When you think about this, that God is really creating me, you start thinking about it, and this is a real idea. This is the basis of Judaism. This is the message of Judaism. Then you start to have a love of God, and you only want to cling to him. And then even your natural, what's called your animal soul, and it's called an animal because it's selfish like an animal. It can be a genius. It could be a religious Jew. A Jew can do Judaism and Torah because he likes it. He wants to go to heaven, and he's very good at learning Torah, and he wants to be part of a big group, and his father did it, and why shouldn't I do it? Or even if his father didn't do it, he wants to go to heaven, he wants to do whatever. So he does, and it's all your animal soul. It's 100% the animal soul. You're just a religion. You have religious tendencies. How can you tell the difference between it? Because a person that's like that lives only from his animal soul, so he's selfish. You get in my way from doing commandments. You get in my way from going to heaven. You get in my way, right? And I hate you. You can see he has the same natural bad character traits as some criminal in the streets, whatever. He just puts it into his own sort of framework, framework. He doesn't want to go and punch somebody. Maybe he'll get taken to court, but he's only thinking about himself. Only think about it. That's everybody. Everyone is like that, says the Rebbe. But ideally, that same soul that's interested only in myself can be convinced to be interested in God, to be interested in the Creator. How can you be interested in the Creator? You remove your mind, your interest from any selfish things. You have to, of course, to sit down and think what's selfish and what's not selfish. Anytime you get angry at someone, you sit down and think, 1 second, anger is bad. Anger is bad across the board. I'm not supposed to get angry, but what am I supposed to do? The guy just, he just lied to me. He embarrassed me in front of everybody. What am I supposed to do? So you sit and think, okay, listen, getting angry is going to really help anything. And none of that is going to, well, maybe I could just take the person aside and tell them what I did. I can't, I'm too emotional, right? Well, that's a big problem. That's a big problem. Go to a friend, a good friend, tell him your problem, take advice, get advice, pray to God. God, please take away this anger from me, right? God will take it away after you prayed about 500 times, right? He'll take it away from you. And you'll see, all of a sudden, you'll be more focused on truth instead of just on yourself. So it says, and that's why, because, here we go, listen to this. The source of the animal soul, the natural soul of a person, is really taken from a spiritual source, which is called these angels, called the Ophanim and the Chayas HaKodesh, which are in the chariot of God, the face of the lion and the face of the ox. So the Rebbe says like this, listen to this. Hagam, even though, I guess this is a commentary by the Tzemach Tzedek, but it's very interesting, so I think we can learn it. Here we go. Even though that the source of the natural soul, here we're talking about Jews, right? The natural soul of the Jews, which is selfish, right? You get angry, you get depressed, you get this. All these things come from what's called your natural soul, your animal soul. Your natural soul here it says it can come to love God. Why? Because the angels love God, and your animal soul comes from these angels, certain angels, which are called the face of the lion, the face of the ox, on the chariot, God's chariot. Agam, even though the source of the animal soul itself also comes from the face of the animals on the chariot, the face of the lion, the face of the ox, and also the face of the birds. This is one of the faces is an eagle. Says once again, all the animals in the world come from the four faces which are on the chariot. Ezekiel describes them. We just read that on Shavuot. Right in the beginning of Ezekiel, right in the beginning of the book of Ezekiel, that he had this. He was on the banks of the river. He's in Babylon, and he has this vision. A knockout vision. You can't imagine what he saw. So he saw this vision of godliness and the God sitting on the throne. Around the throne is these animals and everything like that. So he says, all these animals around the throne, they are the source of the animals in the world. All the impure animals in the world, they come from the face of the lion. All the permissible animals in the world, they come from the face of the ox. All the birds and flying things, they come from the eagle, etc. So it says, 1 second, all the animals come into the world from the face of the ox and the lion, etc. And so how can it be that our animal soul also comes from these animals that are around the throne? And because they come from the animals around the throne, is therefore we can transform ourselves. So why can't oxen transform themselves? Why can't they change themselves? Why can't cats transform themselves? They come from the same source. So how can it possibly be? So it says, Shari nefesh Bahamid, because the soul, the natural soul of man, who nefesh amaskelis madaberis shegodla v'gova malasa and kates. We can't say that the natural soul of man is like the natural soul of animals, because man, first of all, has intellect, abstract intellect. Animals don't have abstract intellect. Animals can deal with the situation that's in front of them. They can solve a problem that's with what's in front of them. But man can abstract from the situation that he's in and change himself totally. If so, but they all come from the same source. How can it be they all come from the same source? It says the animals, all they have is just a nefesh, just a living soul. The animal, you can't compare the soul of an animal to the soul of a person. So how can it be that we say that because the soul of a person comes from these animals around the chariot, but the chariot, therefore we can return to God, we can change ourselves for the God? That's a terrible reason to say, because the animals in the world also come from the animals around the chariot of Ezekiel, and they can't change. So how can it be? What's the difference between man and animal? We come from the same source. It says no. The arba chayos, that the four different faces which are on the chariot, each one has four faces in them. Yesh b'kol achad mehem, there is inside of each one of them, of these four faces around the chariot of Ezekiel. One second, is somebody waiting over here to come in? No? Participants, 1 second, excuse me. No, good, okay. The four faces that are around the chariot, it says each one of them is composed of four faces as well. Shoresh hachayos and nefesh b'ham is the source of the animal soul of a man. This comes from the face of the man, which is on the face of the ox. Kigam pnei ashur, the face of the ox and the face of the lion also have four faces on them, and one is the face of man, like it says in the Zohar. And the source of the animal soul of an ox, that comes from an ox in the world, that comes from the face of the ox itself. Oh, so if so, we see that man is similar to animals in that man is selfish just like animals are. But that's the aspect of a selfish man, and a selfish ox are a little bit different in their selfishness, especially in that a selfish man has what we call an intellectual soul, a nefesh sichli. If you remember in the Mimer we learned before, he said that a Jew has three souls, a non-Jew has two. In the Tanya it says a Jew only has two, but it means a Jew has a godly soul and an animal soul. That's the two souls of a Jew. But the third one is called an intellectual soul. And the intellectual soul is also possessed by a non-Jew. And that enables a person to think abstractly. To leave any situation that he's in. Behold, it says these different angels, Barash Gadol, they're in a tremendous noise. Minasim, Umas Asrafim, there's different types of angels. It says there's angels which are called Ofani, wheels, V'chayos HaKodesh, angels which are called holy animals, and they make a big noise. They make a big noise opposite the angels which are called Serafim, burning up angels. Okay, I don't know if we should get into all this, but let's at least try today. Okay, let's try. Okay, so this is all talking about this vision of Ezekiel that we saw, that we read about just now in Shavuot. Right, that was the Haftorah of the first day of Shavuot. So it tells us all about these angels and this vision that Isaiah, that Ezekiel saw, Ezekiel saw, and Isaiah saw a similar vision. It's not like this, but okay. So he says, okay. So the question is, what do we tell? Why do we care about this? What's it even important to us that he saw these big angels and they're burning up? And they're yelling out, holy, holy, holy. It says the angels are saying, holy, holy, holy. What's the point of the whole thing? Why tell us this? Why tell us this vision that he had? And who says that he saw something real? Maybe he just saw a vision. He saw a vision. He took, peyote or something like that, and he saw some sort of a vision. He saw, things, spiritual configurations. Who cares? What's it got to do with us? It says the answer is that we're supposed to learn from the angels. And in fact, in the first blessing we say before Shema in the morning, there's two blessings we say before Shema Yisrael. It says it in the Mishnah, in the first Mishnah in Brachot. So two blessings. One, the first blessing talks about the angels. The first blessing talks about the angels and how the angels are all calling out to God. They're saying, holy, 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 and the Chayos HaKodesh and the Seraphim and the Ophanim and Chayos HaKodesh. These different angels, the wheels and the holy animals and the burning up angels. And they're all elevating themselves and they were standing one opposite the other one. And it was good. So what does it mean to us? This idea that the angels are making a tremendous noise, excitement, because sheshomim at the seraphim, they hear these angels which are called the seraphim, and the angels say holy, holy, holy 3 times. And this is what's called the umat seraphim. That's what it means that they are opposite these burning up angels. In other words, the lower angels hear the excitement of the upper angels. And because they hear the excitement of the upper angels, so they respond accordingly. Because angels do have intellect. In fact, that's basically all angels are intellect or pure emotions. But their intellect of the angels, it comprehends God. And therefore, they are automatically excited. Automatically excited. It's like if somebody saves your life, and then they just rerun that, right? You're about to fall off of a high bridge or something. You step into you're talking to somebody and you step into the elevator and there's no elevator. It's an empty elevator shaft. And you fall down and somebody reaches out and pulls you up with a tremendous effort, pulls you up and saves your life. You say, oh, thank you. I was so afraid. Oh, thank you. Hug the person. You don't care who the person is. Thank you very much, right? But let's say you had that experience constantly. You felt you're being saved by God. Well, these angels feel that God is creating them. And the angels which are higher, they feel it more than the angels which are low, because that's the idea of higher and lower. The higher angels, they feel God creating them more than the lower angels do. And so they go crazy. That's like the seraphim. The seraphim are these high angels, and they're burning up to God. They're saying, holy, holy, holy. And the lower angels that don't feel so much that their very existence comes from God, so they're not excited. But when they see the upper angels are excited, so they realize there's something to get excited about, and they burn up to God. Okay, let's explain this. In a Perishal Bir Milas Kadosh, so it says, what do these burning up angels say? What do they say? They say, holy, holy, holy. God is holy, holy, holy. What does the word holy mean? What does it mean, holy? Okay, so usually, let's just take normal terms, right? Normal terms. I say to you, you see this here. You see this this watch here. There's a clock here. See this clock? Well, this clock is a holy clock. Holy. What does that mean? It means it's not regular. Something's regular. Something's not, right? It's not an antique clock. It's not a precious. It's a holy clock. If you say it's an antique clock, so that means, what does it mean it's antique? You wouldn't believe it, but this clock is more than 500 years old. 500-year-old clock. It was owned by, who knows, Genghis Khan or something, who knows, whatever it is, right? It's like, oh, this is a Genghis Khan. Take it to the pawn shop. That watch is worth, really, let's have a look at it. It's true. This is worth at least $50,000. It's an antique. It's an antique. And let's say it was an antique that was really owned by somebody that is this was owned by Rembrandt. So that adds on another $50,000. This is a genuine Rembrandt clock. So that's worth another $50,000, $100,000. Says, but if I say this clock is holy, what does that mean? What does it mean? Is it holy? So automatically, it has something to do with God, something to do with a thing that's holy. It means it has something to do with God, or it's like religion. It's not just spiritual. Holy means something like really untouchably good, huh? Holy item. Or at least some people, you can say, listen, some people say it's holy, right? Holy means you don't touch it. You don't touch it. Something. So the word holy is holy. So the angels are saying that God is holy. What does that mean? The word holy, kodesh, is lomer to say, shehu kodesh umuvdal. It is sanctified and separated from everything else. She'en lo erech v'yichus ba'almin. It has nothing to do with the world. It's just here by some sort of a miracle, but this is a holy thing. She'en lo begetter mamale v'lo begetter solvi. Something that's really truly holy, right? It's been borrowed by other religions and things like that, but truly in Judaism, what holy means that it's the creator. It's not part of the creation, not the spiritual creation and not the physical. It's not physical. It's holy. The lo mikol midos in kolal. It's nothing to do with the world at all. That's the word kodesh. Kodesh, with if the vav is between. It's holy. But the word kadosh with a vav in it, vav, hu inyan hamshacha. This is drawing down from kodesh, the holiness of God, to be drawn down into the world. The idea of being kodesh, right? There's kodesh, that's this, and there's kadosh. Kodesh is a thing in itself, something which is holy. It is holy. In English, I don't think there's a counterpart to these two, difference between those two things. In Hebrew, there is. Kodesh means something that's separate. This is the essence of holiness. That's the source of holiness, is Kodesh. God is holy. Like God's name, that God is holy, so is he. God is Ein Sof. He's infinite. There's no end, there's no limit, there's no definition of what God is. And the worlds cannot receive the essence of God as it is. The worlds, if too much godliness, and the worlds go away. Like turning on the lights in the movie theater, the picture on the screen is just made of light. And when you turn up too much light, so that the little lights go away. You can't see them. They're dissolved in the bigger light. God is like the big light. He is the source of everything. He's too much. He is holy. He's removed from the world. God is not a thing. That's why we call God Hashem, the name. That's why when we write God's name, we write a dash. Don't think that God is a thing like anything else. God is holy in a way we say holy is totally removed. There's nothing in the world that's anywhere near comparable to God. The spiritual worlds are just created by God. That's the word Kodesh. If the worlds were too close to God, then there wouldn't be any worlds. But what does God do? He spoke and he created the world. That's called Tzimtzum Gadol. God made a tremendous contraction. That made a ray of godliness into the world. That's the idea of kadosh, of being holy with a vav, not kodesh without a vav, kodesh. Kadosh. This is how God draws his holiness into the world. But nevertheless, this is holy and separated. She'ena olamos, the world still cannot receive this higher level of holiness, even when it's drawn down, until it comes down to be a ray of a ray. That's the idea of the second kadosh. So that why did the angels, the burning up angels, they say holy, holy, holy 3 times? So this is not exactly that way. And the first angels, they say holy, because God has been drawn down to them, contracted and drawn down to them so that they can accept it. The second angels, they say 2 times holy. They're a level below the first angels, and they say that God is holy, holy, that God has, so to speak, contracted himself twice. This is drawing down from the first time. And also the third time, holy, 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 this is how God has drawn himself down to the third angels, Ha'ora da'or is a ray of a ray that's drawn down from the second level of holiness. Now there can be that this level of godliness can be drawn into the world and appreciated by me and you. That's the God that we praise. Roma Muslim case, that we realize that God is infinitely, infinitely higher than anything we imagine, but nevertheless, God is in the world. And that we call God Tzavaot. So that's what the angels say. Kadosh, 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 Hashem Tzavaot, God of hosts. Tzavaot. What is the word Tzavaot? The word means, Ot means a letter, and Tzava means the hosts of God. Tzava means like the armies. God is just a letter, one letter in his hosts of creations that he makes. The whole entire creation that we see in this world, with all the angels, with all the things, with all the atoms and everything like that, that's just, so to speak, one letter of God's name that's drawn down from these three levels of holiness that we talked about. Okay, why is the Rebbe telling us all this? When we think, let's say you look and you see a beautiful sunset, or you look at a flower, and you look at the flower, you think, wow, this is just amazing. I mean, this it's a creation of God. God is actually revealing himself in this flower. Look how amazing it is. And it grows and it's alive. It's amazing, right? The flower. Incredible. And look how many flowers, and there's different types of flowers. Once I remember from walking to my house to the synagogue, which is about, 7-minute walk. So, sometimes a flower catches my eye. What can I do? And I thought, you look and you see that it's so tremendously beautiful and intricate and delicate and alive. And then you see next to it, there's a different type of, that's a red flower. Then there's a yellow flower next to it. And then there's these little white flowers you see. Oh, isn't it? And then there's purple flowers. And suddenly you see it's like an orchestra. It's like a party. You're walking and God is making a party for you. He's making an amazing, how do you say, how do they call it? A floor show, not a floor show. How do they call it? Like a Hollywood show, a Broadway production. It's a whole big production there in front of all the angels. And then when the wind blows, they start to move a little bit, right? Then a bird chirps. The whole thing is just really amazing. And if you think about it, that's God, godliness. So you say, 1 second, don't go overboard. That's just a lowest level of godliness that there can possibly be. The lowest level. The lowest level. What about the stars? Oh, that's something amazing. Look at the stars. That's really, how big the stars are. That's really amazing. It says that's also nothing. That's just a little bit higher. And the stars are going around. They keep going around all the time. They're moving. What's moving them? This is amazing. That's nothing. Then there's angels. Ooh, angels. That's really something. There we got something. I don't know if the angels exist. And here Ezekiel says they exist. You start to learn. That's only the lower level of the angels. Then there's higher level. The angels are impressed by the level above them, like you were impressed by that flower. Even more. They go berserk. Holy, holy, God is holy, holy. So what's the Rebbe trying to say? The Rebbe is trying to say that God is infinitely, infinitely, infinitely more real than we can possibly imagine. And that God, from his essence, that's infinitely more, and the angels are all screaming out, they're going berserk, he's the one that's creating me and you. And he's the God that gave the Torah. When you think about this, how real God is, then you get excited. Then you get excited. Then it's an exciting thing. It's like if somebody comes over to you, hey, just saw you talking to that man over there. Who is that? You know who that man was? No, nice guy though. We were talking. That man happens to be Albert Einstein. Really? Wow. That man is Frederick Chopin. Gee, I love his music. This is really him. I was really talking to him. I just don't believe it. This is right. It's the same thing. And you're looking at the flower. You think, oh, that's God. It says that God. You know who God is? God creates the angels. I didn't know angels. That's only the lower angels. He creates the upper angels. And the angels are going crazy. When you start to think about this and you realize that it's real, it's not just, it's a meditation things from the Far East or something like that takes your mind off of yourself. Then you become excited about God. And that's the whole idea. And that's the idea of the sacrifices in the Holy Temple. That you take your natural animal soul and you get excited with it about God. And this, God willing, we'll talk about more tomorrow. Here's talking about Daniel and his friends. Remember we talked about last week. This we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Let's do now the Yom Yom.